Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Fresh from the Power Alley podcast. Welcome to our new episode. Man, we have a lot to talk about today. A lot of NCAA baseball tournament reaction to their opening regionals and who's going to the super regionals. A lot of MLB action, especially that Dodgers Yankees series over the weekend, and a look ahead of where we're going here as we exit May and enter June. So 2 months down in the Major League season and about 4 months to go, but a lot of excitement. Things are heating up across the spectacle. So before we go any further, though, with our first pitch, welcome to the Power Alley podcast. If you haven't joined us before, we are part of Spinnable Sports Network. You can find us on all podcast platforms as well as Spinnable Sports YouTube channel and also spinnablesports.com. I'm Fresh. You can find me on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, at SS_2Fresh. I'm a contributor to spinnablesports.com and a co-host of our flagship podcast, the Irrational Confidence Podcast. You can find the Irrational Confidence Podcast as well on on the Spinnable Sports YouTube channel, as well as on Twitter, X at IR Confidence Pod. And if you want all of it or a little bit of any kind of sport we want to offer through Spinnable Sports, obviously through Twitter and X at Spinnable Sports, and you'll be able to get yourself in the game. Leading off here, let's take a look at the big leagues before we jump into some college baseball and some college softball as we were the Women's College World Series. As I mentioned before, we're early June, so it's about 6 o'clock here on June 3rd, so right before first pitch on a Tuesday night, some action across the Major League spectrum. And four things I really want to discuss and you take a look at is when the season started, the last four teams that did not have a win were the Twins, the Braves, the Tigers, and the Brewers. As of this moment, the Tigers lead Major League Baseball with 40 wins. The Twins have pulled themselves off the mat, and they're 32 and 27. Brewers are very similar; they're 33 and 28. And the Braves were the last to get a win, and they're 27 and 31. Fourth place in the National League East, and 10 out of first place as of start of play tonight. You could say, well, the Braves are still under 500, but the fact that they were winless at 0 and 9, I believe, if my memory serves me right, and 27 and 31 now, dealing with some injuries, dealing with some, still lackluster play across the board. Being 4 under 500 and still within shouting distance of a wild card spot, I'll get into that in a second, after 2 months is a major achievement. And they've gotten back to 500 at least at one point. So we've seen some of these four teams have rough starts, and right now they're all strong competitors right now for playoff spots and within their divisions. So I think we're getting to the point where we can sort of say, is starting off 0 and 5, 0 and 6, 0 and 7 absolutely horrible? It's not great, but it's showing that teams can pick it up. If you let that trend go, like the Rockies, they just picked up their 10th win last night. Haven't won. They've lost 22 straight series. Could break that tonight. We'll just see what happens later this afternoon. It's even. But it's one or two games, get through the first couple of weeks, shake it out, make that transition from spring training into April is one thing. But how do you play through the rest of April? How do you play through May? Do you get some guys back, toward the end of April and May with injuries or on 60-day IL? We're starting to see these four teams are being a poster of. Let it sustain. It's a long season. Things can play out. Things can, the Diamondbacks got off to a huge start and they're struggling right now. The Red Sox got off to a hot start and they're kind of struggling. So let things play out. It's a long season. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And these four teams are kind of making a statement to that and really diving into the Braves, I think, a little bit deeper because they are the one under 500 here. They're 5.5 out of the final wild card spot, roughly 2 months into the season. And you kind of look, they're 5.5 back, but there's a significant gap between them and the Pirates and the Marlins and the Rockies. So if the wheels fell off, they would fall in that category. I still think they would finish above them anyway. They have just too much talent. But you look at who's above them for that final wild card spot. I'm going to go ahead and say right now, the Mets or Phillies, one of them's winning the division, one's taking a wild card spot. And the Padres, they're good enough. They're probably capturing the other. So the Braves' only real chance is that final wild card spot. Can they just, the next 4 months, get themselves to that point where they achieve that goal and make the postseason? You have the Cardinals, you have the Giants, the Brewers, the Reds, the Nationals, and the Diamondbacks ahead of them right now. The Diamondbacks losing Corbin Burns, that's a big injury. Their offense has been inconsistent. Corbin Carroll's been all over the place. We just haven't seen it. Suarez is all or nothing. I'm not too high on him, but they've done it before. They found that last spot and they went to the World Series. So, but the Corbin Burns injury, Merrill Kelly's been okay. He's a 3 or 4 starter. Zach Callen's been good, but hasn't been as dominant as he was. Rodriguez is okay. The bullpen has been in middle of the road, but that Corbin Burns, the ace at the front, how much that can impact them in an already tough division in the NL West. And it's going to really hurt them down the stretch, especially if it's a long-term injury, which I really hope it isn't. Cardinals, I just don't know if they have staying power. I think they've got to a great start, but that depth of that team, they haven't been hit with an injury bug yet. Sonny Gray's still there pitching. Let's see how the summer plays out, but I just don't think they have the firepower. And honestly, for that organization who has extremely limited depth and is not shown to spend money, is it okay for them to sort of maybe hit the median, hit the middle of the road, factor in? It's like, all right, we know we're not going to make the playoffs. We're not winning the NL Central. Let's trade Arenado right now. And that value is going to be high because there's a lot of teams that are going to need a third baseman. Cubs, the Yankees. Anyone will take Nolan Arenado right now if you could put together the deal. And the Cardinals need the organizational depth to really get themselves back into long term to help that, because that team's not going to spend tons of money. You've got to think the long term situation. I don't think the Cardinals are a World Series team, and that's where also the practical knowledge comes in. It's not do they make the playoffs, but does the Cardinals team actually have a chance of winning a World Series? No. If you have a chance to get value, you kind of hope, all right, we were contending, and then we trade Arenado, we get a decent return, maybe get a couple, middle of the road top prospects, help rebuild that entire Cardinals organization. The Giants, they have the money. They had a great start. They kind of leveled off the Verlander injury there. Where's the Willie Adames hasn't hit his stride yet. Matt Chapman's been okay. Don Huli's been okay at left field. He's been pretty solid. But where, Wilmer Flores being fourth in baseball with RBIs, fourth or fifth, I'm believing. That's not sustainable, and I don't see that lasting. So who else is going to start driving runs for them when you have to go against the Dodgers and the Padres, among other teams the rest of the way? The Brewers are a very young team. Had a lot of pitching injuries, a lot of pitching depth has been tested in that bullpen. The offense right now is in a spurt. They've won 8 in a row, but is that sustainable? Can that keep going the rest of the way? Do they have the minor league system to make a trade? They can go out and grab somebody, preferably a shortstop or a third baseman desperately, or another arm of the bullpen, just maybe as a icing on the top. But really, they need to address the left side of that infield. From an offensive perspective, because defensively they're good. Offensively, they have some gaps in that lineup that in a short stretch is okay, but in a long stretch can make it worth it. The Reds are underachieving across the board. The Nats, on the other hand, are overachieving, being a half game above the Braves. I think the only one that I can really see being sustainable is the Giants. They have the depth. The Reds might give it a run at because they have some young talent on offense. And the Brewers are that third, but the Nationals, Diamondbacks, Cardinals, I think, fade, and they give the Braves a chance to be in that conversation come playoff time. So can you get through? Can you keep fighting? Can you not, unfortunately, go through another injury? And right now, you kind of look at the odds. Matt Olson, Ozzie Albies, Michael Harris have all, and Sean Murphy, even to that fact, underperformed at the plate over the long stretch. They've had maybe a 1 or 2 game run here. It's pretty good, but across the board, pretty limited, and that's where the offense is struggling. They only have 35 stolen bases as a team, and Harris leads with 10. So there's not even getting action on the base pass, not creating any angst or frustration for the opposing team. Where is that going to kick in? They just brought in Freddie Gonzalez. Is that right there? Is that an interim manager in waiting with Snit having some struggles? They kind of have him there on the bench to sort of, hey, I got an eye on you just in case something goes south. They push the button real quick and send Snit out and put Freddie Gonzalez in charge. I think that was in my opinion, that is the strategic alignment from that call. If you really rarely see a AAA manager called up to be a third base coach mid-season and then swap the other guy and send him back down. That doesn't really happen very often. Schwallenbach, Chris Sale and Holmes have been pretty solid top end of the rotation. Losing Smith Shawver was rough. And then getting Strider back, getting his arm strength back, getting confident. He had 3 starts, nothing longer than 5 innings, but only 1 real bad start, 4 runs in 4 1/3 versus the Nationals. So if he starts getting some momentum going, you got Schwallenbach pitching pretty well. Chris Sale obviously pitching really well. Holmes, that gives you 4 top of the end starters. And that still leaves a glaring major issue in the bullpen, which they're not getting the job done, not holding leads. That allows them, we have to make trades that can focus on getting the bullpen because you got guys in the lineup, you got a starting rotation. If you can go out and find some guys in the bullpen to help, that allows them to push. The month of June is huge for the Braves. That's going to really decide the fate and put this team as they're going to be selling or just getting through the season and focusing on 2026. From tonight, June 3rd through the 15th, they have the Diamondbacks, Giants, Brewers, and Rockies. They have to come out of those 4 series 8-4 at worst. 8-4. You got to gain 4 games to get yourself back to 500. If you could do that, if you could finish 8-4 in that 4-game series right there, it gets to 500, middle of June, allows you to just sort of play out the rest of the schedule and see where things fall. June 17th through the 29th, so the remaining part of the month. It's another reason why you have to be 8-4, because the 17th through the 29th, you got the Mets, Marlins, Mets, and Phillies. If you're not 8-4 or better in that first 4-game set, first 4-game series, or first 4-series set, the Mets, Marlins, Mets, Phillies to end the month might officially end the team's practical playoff hopes by July 1st and before 4th of July. They have to go at least 11-12, 12-11, worst case, somewhere in that Mets, Marlins, Mets, Phillies stretch to end June to really have all right, we're ready to now we can go out and trade for someone to bring in and enhance this team, whether it's an extra bat in the outfield, or a couple extra bullpen, assets, and then make that push toward the playoffs to get a wild card spot. We look what happened last year. The Mets had a terrible start. They pushed themselves through. They made had some mojo in the second half of the year, made the playoffs, beat the Braves in that final playoff game there in Atlanta, got themselves in a spot, went to Milwaukee, game 3. Pete Alonso takes Williams deep. They get to the next round of the playoffs, keep pushing. So anything can happen when you get in the race. If you have the caliber of talent on your roster, the Braves do, but they just got to get it all in one spot and keep moving forward. And I think that if with Acuna Jr. also being in the mix, that's a bat in the lineup who's been playing 9 games tonight. Will be his 10th as of the 3rd of June. If he can get himself going and energize him like he did his first pitch, first pitch that he saw was a home run, he brings the energy of that offense, creates danger for the opposing team on the base paths. He can steal, he can catch in the center field, he can make plays. He obviously has a lethal bat. Those weapons right there make that lineup better. Getting him to get his feet under him, getting him to feel comfortable, getting him to feel healthy. The Braves have the tools. They just need to put it all together now and get themselves headed in the right direction. And June's going to be big for them. Like I mentioned at the top of the show, college baseball is in full swing. We had the regionals this past weekend. Had 6 winner-take-all games on Monday, which was amazing. Let's talk about the chaos. 9 of the 16 regional hosts moved on. 7 heading home. We had UTSA as a 2-seed advance over Texas. Murray State goes to Oxford, takes out Ole Miss and Georgia Tech as a 4-seed and wins the regional. And we'll talk about the Missouri Valley in a second. Overall, they have some tremendous success right now in the tournament. And then Coastal Carolina, the host, everyone thought ECU or Florida. I thought Florida was going to find their footing and show that bullpen depth and take advantage of it. The Shots took care of business, and they're advancing. So baseball, mid-major success right there with 3 of those teams, UTSA, Murray State, Coastal Carolina. We look at the NCAA basketball tournament in March. It was like March Madness, all the upsets. The small schools get a chance to shine. Not as much anymore. We had a couple of teams every once in a while, pop it. But for the most part, the past 2 years, we're getting chalk or very close to it. A lot of the higher seeds are making themselves to the Sweet 16 and beyond. We had Oakland, last year and making a run. NC State was still a brand Power 4 conference team making a run. They were lower seeds, but they made it from a basketball perspective. But it hasn't had the excitement from all the mid-majors as much the past couple of years as we were normally expected prior to the transfer portal chaos, prior to NIL. Now you're starting to see if a player is good at a lower level, they're immediately taking money and going to a bigger program, or they're transferring out to get better. Like if you shine 1 year at a lower school, they're not having those teams of 3 or 4 seniors and juniors who play together 3 or 4 years, are very well gelled and secure on the same level and playing together when they get to the tournament. And they have that, they know where each other are going to be. They have that camaraderie. They have that work ethic, that dedication, that commitment, that connection. That's kind of, the transfer portal taking that away from the small schools. Don't have that when they get there. They better hope to just on a heater and pull off a miraculous upset because the depth and the talent is no longer going to be there for more than one season. College baseball. Yeah, the transfer portal exists for college baseball. The budgets for baseball aren't as high as basketball, much not even anywhere compared to football. So you're not seeing the NIL deals being thrown out like crazy. Most of these guys, when they're going there, you're going to be committed to a program. I mean, we might see 4 or 5 guys in the portal, but they're not going to have the mass exodus like we saw with football or basketball. Just the portal opens up and it's just 40 players. And with scholarships being increased for baseball, which is good, as well as softball, Because before, for years, they were, you might have a team of, team of 20 plus guys, and you only have 1.2 or 2.1, scholarships. You're trying to divide that up among all those guys. Most of those guys are paying their own way or getting academic aid. Now we're getting more athletic scholarships for baseball and softball that allows some NIL deals, allows some more of these movements, but these guys are still committed to playing ball. They want to be at the program. So we're seeing a lot more chaos across the board, a lot of great baseball being played across the country. You look at not just the regional sites that the regional hosts, the 9 of them that moved on, but you have Louisville as a 2 seed, win the national regional. West Virginia, who gave last year, they gave North Carolina all they could handle in the supers in Chapel Hill. This year, they go and take care of their business. They beat Kentucky, beat Clemson, and win the Clemson regional, and they're off to the supers. The Hurricanes as a 3 seed, going to Hattiesburg, take out Southern Miss, take out Alabama, and put themselves back in. They're heading off to the supers. Like I mentioned, UCSA is a 2 seed, Duke is a 2 seed with that great offense they have there, and then Arizona Wildcats going to taking care of the Eugene Regional out there as a 2 seed. There's great baseball being played across the board. Yes, there were 13 SEC teams. There's still, a good handle, and you're probably you're at least guaranteed one that's going to Omaha when the Arkansas Tennessee winner. So, yeah, the ACC has a lot of teams right now in supers. That's amazing. They've always been an amazing baseball conference, and they're showing it. But we're seeing great baseball being played across the board, and there's talent and there's chaos. If you watched any of the games this past weekend, even the very last one where Little Rock and LSU going at it, small Little Rock, not Arkansas Little Rock, like just Little Rock, giving LSU one of the top 3 best programs in the country with the best pitching staffs in the country, all they can handle all weekend. That just shows you there's baseball being played. It doesn't matter how tall you are, how many, you can get out there and just play. It's pitching, it's defense, it's base running, it's clutch hits, who can field right, who can not make the mistakes, who's better, who's ready to make things happen. The ball bounces different ways. The ball gets hit in the outfield in different spots. It's a lot different than basketball. You're playing a small court. It's 5-on-5. Shoot, from the 3-point line or take it inside. Hit your free throws. Baseball has a lot more variables, pitching and defense. How's that ball coming in? What's the umpire calling? Very similar to the fouls in basketball, but there's a lot more variables that come into play. You can play a game a different way. Are you bunting? Are you stealing? Who's a clutch hitter? Who has some weird left-handed reliever with a weird funky delivery who's going to come in at a key point and no one's ever seen before and get them done? You look at conference play compared to why the tournament is so great from a baseball perspective. In conference play, you're preparing for 3-game series all year to play, the guys, you have the film on it, and then you have the conference tournaments. Here, when you get to one of these regionals, you get some of these mid-majors, these smaller schools that nobody's even seen unless it was a midweeker or early season, maybe a potential tournament in, late February, early March. It's a lot of guessing games, and you are at the mercy of whatever information you can collect in a couple of days and be prepared, whatever film you can find. But in the end, it's still playing just baseball. It's basically travel league baseball. Winner take all, anything can happen. My predictions weren't that great. I predicted Alabama to win the Hattiesburg Regional. That did not happen. I predicted Vanderbilt the number 1 overall seed. That did not happen. I did get Florida State and Oregon State right, and they're both meeting out there, which has been a pretty great series out in Corvallis. Oregon, obviously, 0-2 barbecue. That was probably that was pretty bad. When you're a regional host and you're 0-2 barbecue, you don't even get a win. That's pretty bad for the home faithful. Carolina, they're a wagon. They are a wagon. Had that one right. That team, they're very good. Definitely whiffed on Florida. Auburn took care of business. UC Irvine, I was not expecting UCLA to be as dominant. I thought they had struggled late down the season, especially they didn't look that great in the Big Ten tournament, and kind of let that one go away. I thought maybe they had a letdown. UC Irvine played so well, but hey, the Bruins took care of business and rep the Big Ten. Texas, horns down. That was another big flop. Ole Miss almost pulled off the comeback last night versus Murray State. Almost made it 12-11 late. They just couldn't get it. I had Georgia Tech, and Tech had they struggled at moments. But Murray State found a way to survive that. It was pretty impressive. Georgia can't hit left-handed pitching. Too reliant on the home run. Bullpen help was definitely lacking late there against Oklahoma State and versus Duke. Big whiff there by the Dogs. That was a big wasted opportunity. But Duke, they showed their ACC powers. They quietly in there, and that offense was loaded, and they had just enough pitching to get them through. But I'm going to see what Duke does with Murray State up in Durham. Hey, when I mentioned this a couple weeks ago, I had the preview up. So Clemson's regional, I said West Virginia, Kentucky were not walkovers. And those 3 teams, Clemson, West Virginia, Kentucky, they traded blows all weekend. And West Virginia, the Mountaineers, that sustained success from last year, maybe that motivation from last year puts them right back in there. It shows the Big 12, they're a good baseball conference. And they're still the ones still standing. They do have to go to Baton Rouge, take on the LSU Tigers there in the box. This isn't the dominant LSU team that was 2 years ago with Skeens and Cruz and all those guys, but it's still pretty good. And they have two of the best pitchers in all of baseball. I'll kind of get to that in a minute. And then I think for any Tennessee Arkansas fan, whether it's football, basketball, or baseball, these fan bases hate each other. Got both these right. And this is going to be the series of all series, I think, because there is, unlike all the other ones, there's true bad blood between the Volunteers and the Razorbacks, Tennessee fans and Arkansas fans. This is going to be, ticket prices are going to be through the roof. Emotions are going to be through the roof. We already know Tennessee's team has an attitude about them, a swagger, a vibe. In Arkansas, if they do get to Omaha, they don't win Natty. So there's always a thing hanging over their shoulder. That series, it's going to be a Saturday, Sunday, Monday, if needed. That's going to be worth the price of tuning in and watching. That is going to be a loaded matchup. And that kind of a springboard. We kind of know that matchup from super regional, pairings here. Miami Hurricanes going to play Louisville Cardinal. I like Louisville. They have a good baseball program. I think Louisville's going to win that one. Florida State, Oregon State. I think Florida State just has too much talent, especially in the pitching game with Jamie Arnold. I'll dive in a little bit later. I think Florida State goes to Corvallis, takes care of business against Oregon State, and punches their ticket to Omaha. North Carolina, that team is just loaded. And playing Chapel Hill, you're going to see the third ACC team make it to Omaha. Auburn, Coastal Carolina, I think that one goes a full 3 games. I think the Tigers have just enough pitching, but I would not be shocked if Coastal went to Auburn. And actually, I'd be very happy if Coastal Carolina went to Auburn and took down the Tigers. But I think Auburn found a way to squeak through, but that was going to be a fun one. UTSA, UCLA out there in LA. How much does UTSA have left in the tank? They're obviously a 40-plus win team from Conference USA. Conference USA, yeah. And they can take out Texas. Can they go out there and keep the upsets brewing and taking out UCLA and taking out the Big Ten Bruins? If they could take out UCLA, a baseball powerhouse from years back, and get themselves to Omaha, that would be that's a memory of all memories. I still think the Bruins have enough depth to get it done. The shock and awe of being in a regional is different from a super regional. But I think the Bruins will take care of business from that perspective. Murray State, that entire team was hot. They were loaded. Their bats were hitting. Their bullpen, they held on just enough, but that offense can score. They're playing Duke, who has an amazing offense. Can Murray State just keep on the heater? If they can go into Durham and just keep slugging, Duke's pitching staff is not dominant. Duke's the strength of the team is their offense. If Murray State can get after it, and it's a little warm there in Durham, that ball can be flying out of the ballpark. Just keep an eye. UTSA and Murray State, there's a reason why they're in the supers. Weird things can happen in college athletics. They have nothing to lose. Both of them aren't supposed to be there. They can come out there and just start playing a little more loose now. Duke never thought, they thought, but hey, we're hosting the regional now. Even their worst case is they beat Georgia or they beat Oklahoma State and they go to Ole Miss or they go to Georgia Tech. They're hosting now. You sleep in your own bed, but that's still a little pressure now. Like their eyes are on you. Now you're expected to win. How will that play out? West Virginia, LSU. I would go to this series just to hang out in the parking lot. So you got Mountaineer fans. Let's go Mountaineers. Let's go get some beers. And obviously Baton Rouge and the Tigers faithful are world renowned for their partying habits. That will be a tailgate scene among all tailgate scenes. They're going to have a party down there in Baton Rouge. And I think West Virginia is going to give them, just like they gave Carolina all they could handle last year. I think West Virginia is going to push to game 3, but LSU Tigers will take care of business and punch their ticket to Omaha. And then Tennessee and Arkansas. I would not be shocked if we have fans in the stands fighting. Everyone knows what happened in football. The Vols were undefeated. They went to Arkansas, and Sam Pittman and the Hogs took care of them. A few years back, there was a punt return to Arkansas, ran all through Tennessee. It's all over YouTube. You can watch through that. Clint Sterner, if he doesn't fumble the ball in 99, or 98, Tennessee probably doesn't win a national championship. So there are some weird things that happen in the Tennessee-Arkansas series. I expect that to go a full 3 games, but the Volunteers Just had I think the experience of being defending national champions. Unfortunately, it pains me to say it. They'll get themselves back to Omaha. So with that, my predictions are Louisville, Florida State, North Carolina, Auburn, UCLA, Duke, LSU, and Tennessee will all meet in Omaha for the College World Series. Um, if you haven't really gotten yourself into it, you don't really understand the college baseball situation. The regionals are different because it is a four-team round robin, two-loss elimination. Your bullpens can get stretched. You're playing potentially 4 games in 4 days, or 4 games in 4 days, 4 games in 3 days, some doubleheaders. There's a lot of limitations on how you want to set that up. When it gets to supers, it is a weekend series. It is best of three. It could be 2 games and then done, and lifting it and dogpiling and heading out to Omaha, or getting 3 games. You're going to see the first game of the weekend, I think, a lot tighter. You're going to have both staff aces out there, best pitchers each team can throw out, probably best relievers, and try to manage it from there. If your team has a number 2 starter, that's going to be the nod in game 2. If it's forces a game 3, Johnny Allstaff comes into play, where it doesn't matter who you are. If you're able to get yourself an inning and give some work to your team, you're going to be out there. So the pitching is the most important part. How can you get through it? If your starter, your ace, goes that first game and dominates, you save the bullpen for game 2 and game 3, you're in great spots. If it becomes a slugfest and your starter doesn't get very deep and your bullpen's having to get stretched early, that has its effects, obviously. You can only throw so many times in a 3-day span, 3 games. You've got to be able to manage that. So that's where some of the run totals get a little higher, because you are stretched in your bullpen. Your offense has to show up and support your starters. Players to watch this weekend. There's a ton. There's a lot of draft eligible guys. If you're into the MLB draft, you want to get prepared for the All-Star break and who's going to be taken early. Make sure you pay attention here. Pay attention this weekend. North Carolina third baseman Gavin Gallagher, 323 average, 17 home runs, 65 RBIs, had 2 home runs and 4 RBIs in their Monday win. He can get hot. Middle of the lineup bats pretty solid. For Arizona, Mason White, batting 336, 19 home runs and 70 RBIs so far for the season. A lot of pop in that bat. Gonna have to make sure you pitch around and be aware of him. Florida State starting pitcher Jamie Arnold, 8-2 on the year, 3.12 ERA. He's right now a top 5 draft pick. If he can go out there and put on a show and get Florida State to Omaha, he might himself lock up a top 3 pick. So there's a lot on the line, not just for him personally, but for the Florida State Seminoles to get out there and make some noise baseball-wise. They have 61 regionals. They're going to another regional, super regional this time, on top of the 61 regionals they've been participating in, which is a record. The one thing about Florida State is they get a lot of regionals, they get a lot of supers. National title always eludes them. Is this the team? Is this the Noles that can finally go out there and get it done? We'll find out. Maybe Jamie Arnold's the one who can get them there. On the other side of that, Oregon State shortstop Avea Arquette, 352 average, on base percentage of 468, slug of 670, 18 home runs, 65 RBIs. With Oregon State obviously not being, in a traditional conference anymore, as amazing that baseball program has been, they kind of get lost in the shuffle. Chance for them to showcase, put that chip on their shoulder. If he can show up, right now he's probably a top 15 draft pick, top 20. He can raise his stock this weekend, and obviously in Omaha if they get there. Let's talk about LSU's pitching staff. They're led by Katie Anderson, left-handed pitcher, top 8 draft pick, top 5, can really do something for stock if he can get them to Omaha. 156 strikeouts this year, 9 wins, and a 3.28 ERA. Being a lefty also makes him much more of a rare commodity. Those left-hand starters, everyone can throw a righty, but the lefty, if you can get one in your rotation or your bullpen, they help a lot more. Speaking of left-handed pitchers, for Tennessee, Liam Doyle, 2.84 ERA, 10 Ws, 10 wins, 158 Ks, has his first save ever, was versus Wake Forest to get them to the Super. He threw 2 1/3 innings pitched versus Wake Forest and 5 strikeouts to finish off his bullpen side deck. He was supposed to pitch. He had started earlier in the weekend regional. When it comes down to that elimination winner-take-all game, if you're able to throw at any point, you get yourself on the bump and you give it all you got. Liam came out there, little, I'll say eccentric. They call him, he's kind of referred to as crazy at some points, weird, very outlandish, but the dude can pitch. And he took the ball on a bullpen side day, which he should be normally throwing anyway, so it wasn't anything crazy. But came out there, gave him 2 1/3, got 5 Ks, shut down Wake Forest, and allowed Tennessee to advance. He'll be starting one of the games in the series, probably game one if they get some rest, but he has a chance of raising his draft stock, but really being a tone setter for the Volunteers this weekend versus Arkansas down in Fayetteville. Auburn, keep an eye on Ike Irish, outfielder, played mostly catcher, 18 home runs, 362 average, 57 RBIs. If the Tigers are going to take care of the shot clears, he's going to have a hot weekend and really drive in some runs for them. Arkansas shortstop, Wahia Aloy, 20 home runs, 355 average, 64 RBIs. If he can get something going for that Razorback offense, especially against that very, very stingy and dominant Tennessee pitching staff, the Razorbacks will be in a good spot. But he's going to have to be the guy who really gets it going for the Razorback offense and fire starts them for a little bit. Duke, Ben Miller coming into the regional was leading the nation in home runs. He has 20 now, 62 RBIs, batting 325. If Duke's going to advance to Omaha, he's going to have to show up against that Murray State pitching staff and really put them down. Make them pay consistently, get after them early. Don't let them hang around because we've seen what happens if Murray State hangs around. And speaking of the Racers, Jonathan Hogart, 19 home runs, 339 average, 62 RBIs. If he can keep that bat going, be able to lead the Racers through and get them to the promised land, which will be an absolutely astounding, amazing event if he can get there. Speaking of Missouri Valley baseball, we shouldn't be shocked because they put together one heck of a product for being mid-major. Evansville a couple of years ago, fantastic baseball team, really did a lot. Murray State, obviously, this year. Missouri State, 2015 to 2017, both made it to Supers both those years. So the Missouri Valley has 6 appearances in the Super since 1999, and those right there are 4 of those 6. But Evansville a couple of years back, Murray State this year, and Missouri State 2015 and 2017. So, we should be thinking ahead next time we start seeing Missouri Valley where they get, placed in the field of 64 and how those matchups are going to work because there's a lot of history behind success for them. And as we wrap up, I'll talk about the transition from the regionals, super regionals for the baseball tournament and who has their eyes set on Omaha for the College World Series. From a betting perspective, yes, you can bet college baseball, just like MLB. Not the prop bets, but you can get spread, total runs, straight up money line, parlay them all you want. Friday night, you're probably going to get all the staff aces. So maybe keep an eye on that run totals and maybe take it, don't get too heavy. But when we start getting those 2 starters and those bullpens on that game 2, potentially that third game of the series, if it's a decider, it's an open, anything can happen. And bullpens you got to stop thinking these are not Major League bullpens. This is not Major League Baseball. These are metal bats. These are college pitchers. Walks, things happen, chaos happens, errors, a lot of home runs, especially the warmer it gets, the ball starts flying. Looking back at the regionals as a way to sort of get your mind in total runs. Look at spreads and look at total runs per game are good betting opportunities if you're not going to string together a money line parlay or just a parlay of winners. Friday night of the regionals, of all the teams that qualified for Super Regionals, so all 16 of them, the Friday night games, there's 172 combined runs scored. Divided by 16, averaged out of the 16 games, 10.75 runs a game. So 175 divided by the 16 games those teams were involved in, averaged about 11 runs a game. Saturday, 235 runs were scored among those same 16 teams in those games that were playing. Divide that 235 by 16, you get average of 14.68 total runs per game. And then Sunday, there was actually an additional game played. There was 17, not 16, because Oregon State had to play twice. 233 runs were scored for an average of 13.7 total runs scored per game. So if you start seeing that run total of like over under 10 or over under 9.5, betting the over probably in that total, especially in that game 2, game 3 setting, is going to really be probably much more of a beneficial situation. And then even on Monday, in the winner take all games, for the most part, Johnny Allstaff's, a lot of bullpen games, not your stud pitchers' arms coming out there on Monday in the winner take all, and a lot of action in the bullpen, a lot of calls to the bullpen. 6 games, 91 total runs, averaged 15.16 total runs per game among all those 6 games being played on Monday, and they're all elimination winner take alls. So when bullpens get the heavy point and they get heavily involved, expect the offense to carry. And that's what we saw this past weekend. Every single day was well over 10 total runs a game between both teams, and at least one of those teams being one of the super regional teams this weekend. So offense is coming. Be ready for it if you're going to plan on betting or even just being prepared for just being patient. If your bullpen gives up a couple runs, your bats are probably going to score. And if you're looking for those games on TV from the super regionals, ESPN, ESPN2, ESPNU, and obviously ESPN Plus will have every single game of all the super regionals starting on Friday, and there are already potential game threes on Monday. So pay attention as those elimination periods and games get moved around. But there's a lot going on. And then from a women's college World Series standpoint, we will finally have a new national champion. The Oklahoma Sooners. They were going for their 5th straight natty. They got beat by Texas Tech last night in a great game. Oklahoma was down to their last out. Texas Tech was up 2-0. Last strike, Oklahoma hits a 2-run shot to tie it. Texas Tech walks it off, but hat tip to the Oklahoma Sooners. You won 6 of the last 7 years, excluding COVID, and you won 4 in a row, and you played as a runner, a semifinalist. It's pretty dang impressive what they've done there in Norman from an Oklahoma from a softball perspective. So great run, major applause. But we will have a new national champion this year. The Texas Longhorns and the Texas Tech Red Raiders are squaring off in a best of 3 from Oklahoma City. You'll see that on ESPN, ESPN2, ABC, whichever they rotate around with the NBA playoffs and hockey and other broadcasting stuff. So keep an eye on the dial for those. Carmody, best player in the tournament, best player in the nation. Just throwing every single pitch for Texas Tech in the tournament. Not just in the Women's College World Series, not just in the Supers, from the regionals to the Super Regionals to here, everything. Just dominant. And someone who can come out there and just pitch and then obviously be a solid hitter in the lineup. There's a reason why she got that $1 million NIL. And if she wins them a natty and beats their hated Texas Longhorn rivals in the process, build a statue. Sure, Patrick Mahomes would build a statue for her right then and there. So it's going to be a big battle. I'm putting my money on the Red Raiders, but I think this is going to be a fun one to watch. Softball is a very entertaining, very fast paced. And if you have a chance, tune in. Red Raiders and Longhorns going for Women's College World Series this week. Transitioning kind of from the college ranks to prospects right now. Jack Caglione getting his call up. Hopefully he gives a boost because there's too much talent on that Royals team. If he can get in there and add some more pop that lineup, they're going to be in great spot, especially to add some protection to Bobby Witt Jr. But he just got the nod up there today. The White Sox have a couple guys coming. Keep an eye on a couple pitchers. The Pirates, I don't know if you're in the organization for the Pirates, be prepared. You have a chance of playing. That team has been pretty rough. Same thing goes for the Rockies. This is the time of year where if you have a chance down there in Double A or Triple A, and you're truly ready, you're going to get the call up in June. Get yourself in the big leagues and show what you can do. I think we're ready for some guys that are going to come up right now, and right now we're seeing a lot more younger players getting the chance to light it up. So Caglione's right now on the spotlight. We'll see what he does, but I got a feeling we're going to see a lot more players coming up. Meyer, obviously, with the Red Sox, got his call up a couple of weeks ago. Slowly getting himself involved. Not there a little bit yet, but he'll be there. And then Roman Anthony, I think that he's probably the next big one that's going to get the nod here soon to get up to the major leagues and play for the Red Sox because their lineup's taking a little lull and they need a little a juice offensively to get them back in the AL playoff race. One thing, kind of just in general, one thing just baseball right now we're seeing attendance skyrocket. If you just came out today from all the MLB PR Twitter handles, X handles that all the national broadcasts, whether it's TBS, ESPN, MLB Network, and not just the games being broadcast, but all their studio shows. Everything is up 3, 4, 5, 10, 12, 15%, 18%. Ratings are up across the board. on all the national stuff, whether it's pregame shows, whether it's postgame shows, whether it's games, live games itself, FS1, Fox. This past weekend, Sunday Night Baseball saw its best Sunday Night Baseball, even though it was Yankees, Red Sox. It was Aaron Judge and Shohei, dominant numbers compared to prior broadcasting. So baseball it's being hit on TV at national levels. There's a lot of people tuning in and watching. And I have a feeling from a streaming perspective, we're getting a lot of hits, and the numbers are high there. Attendance already in the ballparks up to this point. Every single weekend, they're getting better and better and drawing more people and filling up, except Miami. 137 people for Rockies and Marlins on a Monday. Yes, it's a Monday night, but let's be better, South Florida. Come on, let's be better. 137 people is terrible. I know it's Major League Baseball. Don't take it for granted. Yes, the both teams are terrible and they're struggling, rebuilding, but don't take it for granted, because if it's lost, you'll wish you had baseball back. Get yourself to the ballpark. It's actually a great ballpark there at Lone Depot Park. Embarrassed. 137 is embarrassing. But I also want to see, I'm talking about the ratings. I want to see what the regional networks are and how those numbers are working. I know FanDuel Sports does a lot of the regional stuff, and like the Diamondbacks own their own. Marquee Sports with the Cubs, SNY, those kind of things. And Yes Network. I want to see how those ratings are doing. Obviously, in some cases they're limited, and it causes some, what's the scope of the audience? But I want to see what those are, because those do come into play. Are we seeing a downturn in regional broadcasts, but we're seeing an uptick, in other, attendance in the ballpark? Because that's actually a solid thing. If less people are watching, more people are going to the games, I think it's an overall win. How's that playing out? That's another interesting thing I want to see, is where are those regional networks and how the team broadcasts, where's their numbers coming from? Are they getting hit more from a streaming? Are they getting live TV broadcasts? I have the MLB Extra Innings package. I get all the games with all the broadcasters. So is that involved in those ratings and those watching? Because I can watch, Reds broadcasts. Is that going to impact the Cincinnati, broadcast, right area from the FanDuel perspective? Who knows? But I want to see those numbers, if those are hitting not just the national broadcasts across the board. Kind of moving from there, and we're going to take a mound visit a little bit, and we're going to look at our Team USA. It's a running list. World Baseball Classic comes in March of 2026, so we're less than a year away. Last time out, Team USA played Japan for the title. They didn't win it, but the team was there, and Marta Rosa did a great job managing it. They won the tournament prior to that, so there's motivation right now to win. And I think right now you're starting to see American players and international players, both Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, Colombia, Venezuela, Mexico, obviously Japan, Canada. These major league players who are legit involved players, not just doing a charity wave on the way out, or unknowns yet still in AAA. These guys are invested in playing. I want to, like you see international soccer or international basketball, the real players play. Baseball, the World Baseball Classic, I think they're finally starting to see the product and how awesome it is to see these elite players representing their countries. Yes, there are some limitations because it is in March and there's a ramp up through spring training. Guys getting their arms ready, getting fully stretched out. But I want to see the best of the best from each country getting that run. All these players can get themselves stretched out earlier. They can start getting ready later in January. Let's not act like they can't go to facilities, indoor facilities, and get themselves trained, or they're already living somewhere where it's warm and they're prepared. Yes, you need a break in November and December, maybe early January, but around the 15th, 20th, you can start getting yourself ramped up. Most of the guys are already staying in physical shape anyway. But getting the elite players ready for Team USA and for all those other nations to put on a heck of a World Baseball Classic. So with that said, we're doing a running list of all the episodes and putting together who we want on Team USA from our own perspective. If we were managing, if we were there as the GM for Team USA, or let's just say the bench coach and kind of advising Mark DeRosa, who we want on this squad. So keeping that in perspective. Obviously, Aaron Judge, Paul Skeens are already in the team. We're keeping them locked in. Not going to make that change. Obviously, they would make the team, in my opinion, no matter what. I already put in Zach Wheeler and Kyle Schwarber. I think Wheeler and Skeens is a 1-2. And Schwarber, whether they're playing right field or DH in that lineup with Judge, right there you have some thunder. Last episode, put Mookie Betts in. I'm going to start him in second, but he can play shortstop, second base, outfield. Gives you that flexibility, especially when you're trying to get all the guys playing time. Now you can have matchups. Now you can rotate guys in and out of the lineup, get all different playing time, move guys around, keep bats in the lineup. And Mookie, I think, is just obviously one of the best players. So Putting him out there will be an amazing thing. And then Josh Hader, whether he's closing it from the very, very back end or just being a solid relief pitcher, you need that lefty with the solid heat. And I think Hader would be great in that bullpen for Team USA. That brings us to right now, who we want to see added to this team. Trey Turner is great. He had a run last time, but Bobby Witt Jr. is my shortstop. Trey might make the team later on, but Bobby Witt Jr. is making my team. He's my starting shortstop right now for Team USA. You put him in there, his bat, his defense, his ability to run the bases. This lineup's going to be loaded, and you want to make sure that's loaded top to bottom. And defensively, you also got to make sure we're sharp. And putting Bobby Witt Jr. there at shortstop is going to give us a great spot. Another thing, especially since it is spring training, starters are probably not going to go as deep. You're going to have some legit, solid bullpen assets. And they're going to have to dive into the bullpen probably a little bit more often to get through a tournament. Very similar to college baseball, regionals, where you're going to have your starters, availability, and all sorts of things come into play. I'm adding right-handed pitcher Griffin Jax of the Minnesota Twins to Team USA. 79 career holds, 15 career saves, a career whip of 1.14, and a K to walk ratio of 3.9. So he's definitely getting a lot more strikeouts and a lot more than free passes. Means he's getting outs effectively, not putting runners on. You kind of want that, especially in a shutdown role in the middle of the bullpen, get a bridge the gap, help out your team and get to the end of the inning and get to the closer, hopefully in the end. Not only is that a solid career stats for a solid player, he's an Air Force Academy grad. He's a captain in the Air Force Reserves, and his wife is a captain in the U.S. Air Force. That's Team USA written all over it right there, folks. Griffin Jax, you are on Team USA, in my opinion. Bring your talents to the bullpen. Let's lock it down and go bring home the World Baseball Classic in 2026. But Griffin, I want to see you in Paul Skeens rocking some Air Force gear when we're lifting the trophy with the championship. And kind of moving on from there, I got some deep drive to left here. We go for pitching to home runs. And that with the deep drive, we'll talk about my power rankings. So as of June 3rd, Detroit Tigers still number one, first to 40 wins. The 2 seeds, New York Mets. Their home record dominant there in Citi Field. And the pitching might not be as sexy or as dominant as everyone thinks, but they're getting it done. Juan Soto is still struggling, and this team is playing well. Just imagine if he gets going and Lindor's playing and Alonso's all playing, that line's going to start hitting like crazy. And Nimmo can contribute, and Badia and Vientos, etc. That lineup has some talent. If he can get going, and that pitching staff can, they can maybe trade for another pitcher, trade for another relief pitcher, the Mets are going to be in a great spot. Dodgers are at 3. What they did to the Yankees this past weekend, they just beat them the first 2 games. They pummeled them, beat them down pretty good. The Dodgers, the only real concern is the pitching. The starting pitching has a lot of injuries. If they can get Glasnow or Snell, Yamato, and Sasaki back, not Yamato, but Sasaki back, and maybe get Dustin May to feel a little bit more healthy, they could go a long way because that lineup is lethal. Very similar for the Cubs. Their pitching staff, Shohei's still out after Justin Steele out for the year. Got to get another starter in there, maybe get some bullpen work, but the Cubs offense is ridiculous. Between PCA, Tucker, and Seiya Suzuki, they're loaded, and the Cubs are my 4th team. Yankees are at 5, Phillies are at 6, Padres at 7, St. Louis Cardinals are at 8, San Francisco Giants are at 9, and I'm probably going to curse them, but the Milwaukee Brewers are at 10. My bottom 5, Marlins, then the White Sox, then the Pirates. Orioles are second to worst, and then the Rockies are DFL. The Orioles are second to worst because that team has so much expectation. That pitching staff has let them down, and the offense just isn't scoring enough. The bullpen's not doing enough. There's more talent on the Orioles team. They're underachieving at a drastic rate, and I'm still going to punish them for not signing Corbin Burns long term. But those are the teams right there really struggling. I got to say, though, the White Sox and the Marlins, their teams at least play hard, and they've played hard so far at this point. They've shown emotion. The Rockies, they look very defeated and embarrassed, and it's, that right there is not on the players. I'm going to make this point again. The Rockies being terrible is not on the players. That is 100% on the front office, the overall development side of it, the minor league side, the drafting, the GM, the owner should be firing, cleaning house from all of that. The scouting department, all of it should be gone. Not saying the players they have, but they have done a disservice. They've not developed players. The Rockies have been here for what, 25, 30 something years. They've still not figured out how to draft and develop pitchers or sign hitters. The philosophy is just mind boggling, and they do everything backwards. They never, it's bad. So hopefully Charlie Blackman coming in that front office can help fix that and get them some sense, because right now the players are being let down by a terrible front office. Speaking of front office and decisions made in the clubhouse and on the bench, now time for some managerial decisions. I talked about some betting, obviously, from college baseball perspective and runs, but let's take a look at some hit props. Look at that over under 0.5, that half over under if they're going to get hit or not. If you can string together some guys who are knocking out, you're probably in great shape. Look for guys who've gone overs in 3 or 4 games in a row. Try to figure the odds of going over 4 or 5 straight games. They're tough. So you start seeing a guy string along to get an over for 3 or 4 straight days. That 4th or 5th game, probably going to be a good chance to drop him in there. Not if he's gone over once, unless he's like Jose Ramirez or Ohtani or Judge. But if he's a mid-tier solid player and he's gone over the past 3 games, that 4th or 5th game, you start keep an eye on that. He's probably due. But also if you're looking at hit props, Judge and Ohtani are obvious. But Jacob Wilson, the shortstop for the Athletics, is second in Major League Baseball with 81 hits. He has 9 more than Paul Goldschmidt and Jarren Duran. Duran, another name that you're kind of not thinking of directly, thinking Devers, you're thinking, Jose Ramirez. Jarren Duran, up there, top 4 in hits. Maybe not bad to play there from an over-under bet perspective, or maybe put into a parlay as a couple extra incentives on some money line bets from a team win. Just keep an eye out there for that. 5th through 11th are a series of ties when it comes to hits so far for the season. Tied for 5th, Trey Turner, Brendan Donovan of the Cardinals, and Stephen Kwan, all at 70 hits. 8th, Jose Ramirez, Bo Bichette, Jeremy Pena of the Astros at the very end, all of 69 hits. And 11th, Ohtani and Francisco Lindor, all of 68 hits. Now, these are all through June 2nd. So if you're looking for hits, keep those names involved from a parlay. The odds are probably in your favor. You string them together. You can get 3 or 4 of them in a 3-leg or 4-leg, parlay, or a money line win with some other team, and drop a couple of those guys in there to help play out the odds a little bit. RBIs are tougher. Only 10 players have 44 or more RBIs so far in the season through June 2nd. Rafael Devers leads with 53. Seiya Suzuki has 52. PCA for the Cubs has 51. Judge has 50. Wilmer Flores is 47. Pete Alonso is 46. Cal Raleigh is 45. Eugenio Suarez, Schwarber, and James Wood all have 44. Keep those names in mind if you're looking for RBIs and that over-under, 1.5 or over a half. The odds are in your favor. They're probably going to be driving in some runs. And so a lot of those guys are pretty heavily involved in the home run too. So maybe a home run parlay is not bad. On the other side of it, from a strikeout perspective, from a pitching perspective, Mackenzie Gore still leads Major League Baseball in strikeouts. He pitches for the Nationals. I know previous episodes I've constantly said Mackenzie Gore, please bet him. Just like Paul Skeens, bet him. He has 101 strikeouts and a K per 9 of 13.3. Next is Tarek Skubal, 11.8 K per 9 and 99 strikeouts. Garrett Crochet is 101 Ks, but he has a K per 9 of 11.1. 3 of them are machines along with Skeens. Mackenzie Gore has 7 strikeouts in 10 of his last 12 starts, and more than 7, so 8 plus in 7 of his 12, and 4 of his last 5 starts. So if you're thinking if that number is 6.5, bet it. If it's 7.5, look at the trends, but most likely that 8 is going to hit. So keep in mind that over-unders on the pitching totals for Mackenzie Gore. Strikeouts are his thing, and he has been putting it away very consistently all season long, and I got a feeling he'll keep going forward. And with that, we're going to call on the closer. Keep an eye on the Super Regionals. A lot of chaos is coming. A lot of, we're going to see a lot of offense there in all those 8 Super Regionals. Hopefully Auburn and Tennessee don't advance, but with my luck, they probably will. But be ready for some great college baseball. Be ready for some great Major League Baseball as we open up June and keep moving closer toward the All-Star break and the trade deadline. Thanks for joining this episode of the Power Alley Podcast. We're connected to Spinnable Sports You can find us through the Spinnable Sports Network at the Spinnable Sports YouTube channel or spinnablesports.com. You can find us on all podcast platforms as well. I'm Fresh. You can find me on Twitter and X at SS_2Fresh. I'm a contributor to SpinnableSports.com and Spinnable Sports YouTube channel and a co-host of our flagship podcast, The Irrational Confidence Podcast. You can find that on the YouTube channel for Spinnable Sports as well as all podcast platforms and on Twitter/X at IR Confidence Pod. And if you want to find Spinnable Sports on Twitter or X or whatever the heck you want to call it, at Spinnable Sports is the handle. And you can also just go to SpinnableSports.com for anything and all. That's it for now. We'll catch you next time with more chatter from the Power Alley. Bye, y'all.